Here is exactly how I grew our Twitter account to 15,000 followers using a semi-automated process. Twitter has made us about £50,000 over the last year, and it's such an underrated platform. So I'm going to show you the full process of how to grow without relying on lucky breaks, fluky shoutouts, or viral posts. I haven't had crazy growth on Twitter. It's been pretty slow and steady, and you can grow faster if you can dedicate more time to it or if you get lucky, but this is going to be how you can do it with minimum time commitment. So I was working as a doctor full-time, which you can imagine, pretty hectic job, and I didn't even have the Twitter app installed on my phone most of the time. So this is how to do it in an automated, time-efficient way. So I'm going to cover why Twitter, what you should write about, what mistakes you should avoid, the overall method, and then the daily process and the tools and software that you need, and a lot of it's free. So let's go. So why Twitter? Writing clarifies your thinking. And selfishly, Twitter is a great training ground to practice clarifying your thinking and refining your message and getting that razor sharp so that you will always resonate with your audience and you'll be able to get clients more easily, to generate leads more easily. Each tweet is like an atomic blog. You're sending a thought out into the universe, phrased in a particular way, and seeing how that responds to the audience and being able to refine it very easily. And the platform itself is super responsive to growth and responsive to, each tweet has a decent shot at getting some exposure. So it's not like some of the other platforms where it relies on you already having a big following to get some traction. So the thing that I love particularly is this. It's the clear feedback loop that very quickly you can test lots of micro ideas. You're running lots of micro tests and seeing how they respond. And then you can refine your message accordingly. And I'll explain why that's important in a second, because over time, each atomic thought becomes stitched together and becomes a blog post or a video or something that's larger. And you know that it's going to be such high quality because every little bit of it has been tested already and market validated. Hopefully that makes sense. So step one on growing on Twitter is have something to say. What is your why? And it's important to be clear on that. So a lot of people are like, I want 20,000 followers on Twitter. And I'm like, well, okay, but what for? Oh, I don't know, like personal brand and stuff. You've got to give it a bit of thought. And it's totally fine if you have a super niche offer and you're tweeting about everything. You can grow faster that way because there's more shots at a wider audience. But that audience is not going to be as relevant. So it's a double-edged sword. And if you specialize really early on, then you will grow a more relevant audience, but it'll curb your growth. So you've got to have a balance of the two, and I'll explain how to do that. So this is it. What do you write about? This is an amazing graphic from Jack Butcher, and it highlights one of the mistakes that some people make, which is we're interested in so many things and we want to tweet about them all, productivity and philosophy and design and branding, but there's no cohesion between the topics. It's like, it just seems like a bit of a chaotic feed of loads of different things. And it's like, well, why would someone follow you? Because what's this person about? I can't quite tell what they're usually tweeting about. So what you need to do is, if you can loop those all together and achieve the mastery of communication around a particular thing, you can then overlap them. And so then everything threads into a single idea. So then if you're talking about mindset and productivity and design and so on, it's all with a focus around the core message, which is really the key offer or the value that you provide to your audience. And then it aligns everything. It makes it so much easier. When you've got that in place, then you have infinite talking points, because you've focused all of those points, all of those different topics around a key result. And that same principle applies to your email marketing, to any storytelling. The classic format of an email, a marketing email, is pain, story, solution. Hey, open with high drama, something that resonates with a pain point that your audience has. Tell a story. Oh, I experienced this and this is what happened. Here's the solution. Here's a call to action. So you can see how that works really nicely. And then you can turn anything into that format and it becomes relevant to your offer. The next thing when considering what to write about is don't be boring. Twitter is a platform that's designed around short, punchy, polarizing, 280 character, it used to be 140 character bits of text. And so you're never going to be able to fit in all the nuance. So don't try. That's for the comments. So you've got to be prepared to rustle a couple of jimmies once in a while. So how do you do that without just becoming a professional jimmy rustler and sensationalist? The way you do it is through this. It's the overlap of this triple threat Venn diagram from Dan Coe that most content will fall into broadly, I'm going to move over here, is broadly either authority, growth, or authenticity content. And each of those has value in itself. That if you overlap authority and authenticity content, then you produce loyalty. You won't necessarily produce sales. And you'll think about big accounts that you follow, or big influencers or whatever. They might have a certain blend of some of these, and you'll see where they're weak and where they're strong. If you have strong authenticity and growth, but not much authority, you get engagement, but you tend not to get sales or loyalty. See how this works? Very cool diagram. And if you have growth and authority, but you're not very authentic, then you can produce sales, but you're not going to get repeat sales and loyalty and engagement. So see how that works. The other aspect which I touched on with what to write about is polarity. 140, 280 characters. It's all about polarity, quickly finding your tribe, and brevity. And I'll cover a bit more about that in a second. But the important thing, and you always hear me saying how you buy is how you sell. So the mindset that you're in when you're buying something, it is reflected in the way that you sell. The same with why did you follow a profile? Because what you're doing is you're buying something with your attention. And so when you're building a profile, you are in the market for attention as well. So it's about getting that consideration and polarizing people so that they either follow or unfollow you. And that's fine. You don't want to appeal to everybody. So a couple of things to be careful of. First of all, it's an addictive platform. Obviously, if you're not aware of this fact, then where have you been? If you're not convinced, have a look at the Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. Look at some interviews with Tristan Harris, or Tristan Harris, how he likes to be called. He is an ex-Google employee who was part of the kind of neurohacking team. Basically, Twitter will program your mind. No matter how resilient and robust you think you are, it is programming you. So you need to make sure that you get in control of it and don't just think that you're immune to this. The solution is writing offline, checking at regular intervals rather than just kind of always having it on, or obviously disable your notifications for God's sake. And also I'm going to go over some tools that you can use to preserve your sanity when you're growing and building a Twitter account. So here is the method to growth. It's comprised of 3 parts. You've got create, repurpose, and schedule. I'm going to move over here again. There we are. So the first step is in creating. You might already have long form content that you've written. You might have podcast episodes, you might have blogs or notes or stuff from your reading, whatever it is. You've already got this fertile soil of stuff to share. If you're watching this video, you're probably a coach who has some degree of expertise and you're looking to find out how to package it and put it in front of the right people. So you've already got the kind of substrate for this. The next step is about how do we repurpose it into the Twitter format so that it flies on Twitter. And so what you do is look at the native format. Follow a few accounts that, and I can put some recommendations in the description, that resonate with you, and look at the format, not the content, the way that they're posting this stuff. So that's about questions, platitudes, threads. Remember, brevity and polarity. So like you might have a particular idea that you then need to kind of sculpt a little bit and cut off the corners and make it into something that's palatable for the Twitter audience. And yes, it might not be 100% correct because you have to squeeze it into 280 characters, but then you can turn it into a thread and then you can add in the nuance, because it's that initial tweet that's the hook for attention, which is what we were talking about. If you have controversial opinions, absolutely fine, stick them up on there. Just be aware you might get a bit of kickback, but if you can justify them, it's fair game. Schedule the stuff that you've taken from your creations and your long form stuff and put it into a CSV and upload it quarterly. We found in UK time zone that posting at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. gets the most engagement for those posts. And you can do more frequently in the beginning as well. But just make sure that you're writing and scheduling offline as much as possible. Remember, you've got to preserve your sanity. I can't overstate this enough. You're probably thinking like, come on, this sounds a bit extreme. But once you get drawn into the timeline, you'll see how it has such addictive potential. Right, so with that in mind, here is the daily workflow of what you would need to do. So going from 0 to 1,000 followers is the hardest thing to do on any platform. You're still trying to build that momentum, and you won't have much existing. You post a tweet out without tagging anyone, without interacting with anyone, it's not going to get much traction. So this is where you want to really be focusing on kind of borrowing traffic from other accounts. So focus on 5 to 10 value-adding replies to larger accounts. Don't just reply for the sake of it, saying, yeah, I agree, or cool story or something. It has to be something that adds to the conversation, and that'll get you a lot of visibility, a lot of reach, that people will then click on your profile, see other stuff that you're posting, make sure you've got a pinned tweet that is the best first impression of your account, and you see how it works that way. Also, you're building relationships with those larger accounts. Generally, if you go for accounts that have got 500,000 followers or 1 million followers, that they're not going to engage with you because they just can't. Their notification feed's just going to be like. So instead, try and interact with accounts that are 2,000 to 20,000 followers, because they're more likely to actually see what you're saying. So with the interactions, go through your mentions and once a day, just like and reply to everything in bulk. You're not a big dick 1 million follower influencer just yet. So if people tweet you, they've honored you with that. So reply to them and acknowledge what they've said, even if it's just like a thumbs up or something. Anyone that quote tweets you, retweet them. Just press retweet on it, because that's boosting your engagement and it's acknowledging that they have acknowledged you, if that makes sense. So yeah, you're not too cool to reply. Be helpful. If you see people that are asking questions around a particular topic, reply and offer your advice, particularly if it's within your niche. It doesn't matter about it converting a sale directly. It's about establishing yourself as someone who is a credible authority that can help in that niche. And what you can also do with one of the tools that I recommend is set up a feed around the particular. So if, let's say, you work with bodybuilders, or you help people lose fat, or whatever it is, you can search those keywords and have an ongoing feed anytime someone posts that thing, a question around that thing. So we work with a client who helps people with their sense of self-worth and imposter syndrome. So she has a running feed for any time someone says the word imposter syndrome, and it comes up, and then she can reply to them in bulk and offer some value to them. So this is why it's such a great platform for lead generation. So in terms of the daily workflow for creating, you want to bulk repurpose stuff. So we talked about your previous notes and articles and insights and even stuff from your journal, whatever it is, that there will be a synthesis of stuff that's going on in the background. And I'm sure you've got some kind of system for this. It's you have it already. You don't have to just like open a blank document, a blank CSV, and think, oh, what do I tweet today? Make it easy for yourself. Create offline, and then every time something comes up, even if you're just walking around, most of my tweets come just shower thoughts, that kind of thing, where you just add it to a note, and then once a quarter, put all of that into a CSV file, separate out the tweets into different cells, upload them in bulk. Then you've automated the tweets for the next 6 months. Cool. If you happen to post a viral post, it's not necessary, but if something just flies for whatever reason, and the viral machine's a little bit unpredictable sometimes, put a call to action in the tweet below that, because you've got people's attention. Try and make it semi-relevant at least to the post that's gone viral too. Right. Here are some don'ts for when you are tweeting. First thing, don't use Gumroad. Unfortunately, it's an easy platform to set up with and sell digital products, but it will put you in a box of this kind of corner of Twitter that's kind of incel, Greek statue, profile picture, misogynistic kind of people that you don't want to be associated with, and it'll just put that stamp on you. So watch out for that. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but you'll see if you're not careful on Twitter. The other thing is, don't be anonymous. So, in fact, that's not to do with Katie Hopkins. Let's put her below for now. Don't be anonymous. There are a lot of anonymous Twitter accounts, but they will not produce loyalty, engagement, authenticity. Well, they'll get engagement, but not authenticity or trust. Because if you're anonymous, you're not accountable. So why would someone buy from you? Why would someone build a relationship with you? A lot of people, if you find a big red flag on Twitter is a Greek statue. If someone has that as their profile picture, block. Because they could be a 14-year-old kid that's LARPing and pretending to be pretend to be a billionaire with 400 supermodel wives and a Ferrari and a 400 kilo deadlift and all this stuff, but there's no proof because it's an attack vector. So just watch out for that and don't participate in that. Have a profile picture of your face, have your name in there, be a person. Next thing is, I talked about polarity and brevity, but don't fall into the trap of becoming this person, Katie Hopkins. So she is basically someone who makes her living from having controversial opinions. I don't know whether she actually holds those opinions, same as Piers Morgan. Like, maybe if you met her over a drink, over a coffee, should be pretty reasonable. But the whole thing is that she's just gaining traction by saying stuff that's outlandish and ridiculous. But it's not going to build trust. And although that will get you engagement on Twitter, it's the dark side. It's the red pill. So don't do that. Don't follow people indiscriminately. I made this mistake when starting the account, thinking if I just follow loads of people, then that'll somehow get them to follow me back, and then that'll bump up the engagement. Don't do it, because you'll end up teaching the algorithm some wacky things, and it's very difficult to unhook yourself from that stuff. So just be very specific and careful with who you follow on Twitter. And if you want exposure to accounts that you don't want them to the algorithm to show you more of, you can do that through creating lists instead, which is part of the Twitter native function. Next, in terms of paid shoutouts and should you do them, we know some people that have had some good success with them, but for us, we tried it. We spent, I think, maybe £1,500 in total on paid shoutouts, with about 100 to 300 followers that were directly attributable to that. No sales off the back of it directly. So yeah, not something that has worked for us. Might work if you have a more relevant audience. Then in terms of Twitter ads, we found pretty low return on ad spend with that. Try it, might work for you, but for us, we've found Facebook and YouTube ads to be much higher return on ad spend if you're going to go down the paid traffic route. Next was this mistake. So this is the one post that I did that went viral. It grew the account's followers, but it tanked the engagement. So it wasn't good for the account overall. And that's because people followed because they thought it would be relevant. I'd be posting more relevant stuff about experiences in the NHS and so on. And really, I just wrote that thread as a kind of throwaway thing. I didn't expect it to go viral. I've got a video about what happened with that, which I'll put here. But what happened was posting that breached this rule because it wasn't tightly looped enough into the thread of what we do at the core of Propane Fitness, which is to help coaches and trainers move online, move their services online. So as a result, it gained a bunch of irrelevant followers and wasn't good for the account overall. So again, don't try and just seek virality for virality's sake, although this was kind of an accident. The other big don't don't check the message requests, my friend. Don't do it. There's demons in there. People send you some weird stuff. Here we are, like someone with a hiccups fetish found a post that I wrote maybe 10 years ago about having the hiccups, and looking at their post history, they're really on the hunt for someone with the hiccups so they can hook up with them. Yeah, just some more weird DMs that you get. Some kind of foot fetish type people as well. So yeah, just have your DMs open, because there is a lot of sales potential in it, but just watch out. Final thing, don't tweet about football. If you're a personal trainer and you're posting like, oh, so glad that David Seaman won the quarter premiership final for Tottenham Hotspurs, like, no one else cares. No one knows what you're talking about, and it's not relevant to the audience. If you're trying to grow yourself as a personal trainer brand to achieve a specific result for a specific person, if that result isn't to do with football, don't post it on that account. Okay, so we've covered the daily process, the do's and don'ts, the workflow. Here are the tools and software that I would recommend to grow your Twitter account. So the first one is Publer, and I'll put the links to all of these in the description below, because we have deals with all these guys to get you a free trial or a discounted rate for this stuff. And we only affiliate with tools that we use ourselves. So we never shill stuff for the sake of it. Publer is actually free anyway with our link. So you can use this to schedule, to write threads, to comment, tweet. There's loads of customization in terms of adding a delay so that it doesn't kind of spam the feed. And it's a multi-platform social media scheduler, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. So Publer is bloody excellent. Next, TweetDeck. So this is also free. It's basically owned by Twitter, and it allows you to create those feeds with particular keywords. It doesn't have the same addictive draw. It's really made for power users and creators on Twitter. So definitely get hold of TweetDeck, put it on your bookmarks. It's just a web app. And the other thing I would say is avoid railgun apps. There are certain tools that will just blast out 5,000 DMs to everyone in your local vicinity. That will knack your reach, because Twitter, of course, is going to catch on that that's a bot doing that. It's not human behavior, and so it will damage your account long term. In terms of advanced tools, and I say advanced, but actually I would very much recommend Hypefury, because you can just paste things in very easily. You can see here we've got over 1,000 tweets scheduled just in the queue on Twitter. So Hypefury allows you to do that. It allows you to upload CSV, and it also creates tweet shots, which are screenshots of your tweets onto Instagram, and they tend to often perform better than the tweets themselves on Twitter, which is unusual. There's also Tweet Hunter. I don't personally use it anymore, but it's an AI generated thing, so it's very good if you're looking for ideas and you get writer's block and that kind of thing. So have a look at Tweet Hunter. We also have a link below for them. Very smooth user interface. So have a look at both of those. In terms of further reading, so in our full program in Propane Business, which helps you to set up this model and essentially help you to get all of these moving parts of your online coaching business set up. So how to get leads, convert them into sales, coach clients, and then the software and underlying tech and productivity. So we have an in-depth guide on how Twitter fits in with that, how to maximize your conversion on there, how to optimize your content strategy with other platforms as well, how that fits in with organic and paid traffic, as well as stuff about the tone and style and how to set up your bio and your pinned tweets and that kind of thing. So we have that in our full program. So you can book a call if you are interested in that. Obviously, there's a lot more in there. And also all of the links that I've covered are below in the description. Okay, speak to you soon.